Hello fellow humans and welcome to F1 22 Manager, and this time we're gonna make Ferrari actually win with the team principal Mattia Sabinella. And let's see whether my strategies are better than those of Ferrari. And I think ideally let's go straight into the races. There's an absolute insane amount of things you can adjust. Pretty much anything that you can manage is manageable. However, the fun part is the races, and ideally, my strategy will be marginally less horrible than real-life Ferraris. So, what I did here is I sent them out in Q3, and the 1-2 at the end here, with a very, very solid lap time, 4 thousandths apart. However, at the end, in the last 10 seconds, Verstappen still makes it up from P8 to P1. So, it's going to be a 2-3 start, and that is going to be somewhat solid, I think. And ideally what I want to do is then want to push both Ferraris past Verstappen as fast as possible in the race, and which is where we're going to go straight into. And I picked the default strategy basically here, and I'll try to stick to it as much as I can. And I'll be like, Leclerc, you're going to go. You're going to jump past this guy. And I really like this. Like, this game looks pretty damn good. For being a managing game, the graphics of the race is pretty damn good. So far, there are a couple of bugs in it that I spotted so far. Like, for example, in the Monaco race, that you'll see in a later video, Sainz was second, but Leclerc was second as well. So there are a couple of bugs in it that still need to be fixed, but so far, it looks like a pretty nice game. And what happened in Bahrain is a lot happened, basically. And also, Bottas somehow is an absolute god of racing, and he just doesn't want to give up, ever. And he's in P4. And he's going to challenge Sainz at this point with DRS. And Sainz is not going to have a great time. And, yeah, that just now means that Verstappen and Leclerc are going to trade positions back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for another couple of laps. Which, again, not much is going to happen now, except them trading positions another 7 times. And that's about it. And then they'll take him back again. Just like that, with DRS on the back straight, one overtakes the other. On the main straight, the other overtakes back again. That's what happened about 15 times, if not more, in this race. And Sainz is now fighting his best to get past Perez and get ahead of Perez. And now the pit window opens up, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get Sainz in there very quickly, so I can then ideally on the next lap undercut Leclerc with Leclerc. However, what basically happens is Verstappen pits at the same lap, and they're both gonna be on mediums, just like that. However, Leclerc stays ahead on his new mediums, and Sainz is sitting there right behind with Perez up his rear again. And this time, the Red Bull is not going to die yet. Might do that later in the season, but they haven't died so far. So now we're in lap 44, and my Ferrari Bueno strategy is starting to take shape. Now, I've already put Leclerc in the pit lane again on fresh softs. However, I haven't done that yet for Sainz. Sainz is still on hard tires, and Verstappen is right behind him. Perez is 30 seconds behind, so basically I'm clear there, and there is nothing that can happen there. So basically what I happen to do here is I let Sainz stay out. I let him out way too long here at this point. That is not okay on his old hard tires. However, as you can see, he fights back against Verstappen. I tell him absolutely push everything you got and try and hold up Verstappen as much as you can so that Leclerc can get away at the front. And at this point, I know he's not going to survive this. I'm going to have to put him on soft. 20% on his hard tires. There is pretty much not much he'll be able to do. He's still in the DRS zone, in the DRS range, obviously. So if I give him all the ERS, then he is going to make it back past again, as you can see right here. So Sainz is fighting like an absolute monster right here against Verstappen on his absolutely shot hard tires. The problem is those hard tires are not going to last another 10 laps, which means I'm going to have to put him in the pits, put him on soft tires, and hope that that tire advantage is going to be enough for him to catch back up. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't quite happen. Leclerc is at the front, 10 seconds away from Verstappen. And like Sainz does get quite close, up to about 5 seconds at the end, 4.8 seconds right there. If I would have put it in 2 laps earlier, he would have gotten a P2. However, I didn't, because I thought I actually have to hold up Verstappen a bit more, and then basically I already dummied Sainz into being the second driver, unintentionally, but at that point I was like, I want to make sure that this time Ferrari actually wins. And 1-3, still a very good result, and it's probably what would have happened in reality as well if the Rebels didn't decide to blow up. So that is very nice, and that is just a lovely thing to see right there. Ferrari's actually winning something, if only in a game. And the next track is obviously Jeddah. Now, in qualifying, we have a weird picture right here, as in Sainz is P2, and Leclerc, with a fresh suspension, is only in P9. Now what I do, again, I tell both of them to push straight off the beginning, because if I can get Sainz past, I can block Verstappen, and I allow Leclerc to catch back up. And he's doing a great job back there, already made up a position in the first couple of corners there, and he's got another place. And now, once we get to lap 6, Leclerc is in P3, being the fastest man on track, and Sainz is in P6. I had to do team orders there, unfortunately, again, because Leclerc was just that much faster, and I didn't want to stop him at all. So I just told Sainz, you know what, he's going faster, let him pass, you get your chance later. Now, at this point, I'm like, okay, Leclerc, you're driving the default strategy. You're doing great. Keep doing that, honey. And as you can see, by a couple of laps later, he's in P1. He's 2.5 seconds clear. With a new suspension, it definitely does work. While Norris, he's like a bit crashy, as you can see right there. I don't know, like the crash animations, they could be a bit better. They're a bit like choppy, you know, where like the car just randomly disappears and breaks out. And at that point, obviously, I'll put in Leclerc for his regular pit stop. He's 6 seconds clear at this point, and there is pretty much nothing that is going to challenge him, except Verstappen, who's going to undercut him. And now, I got a bit of a problem here, because Joe is sitting right in the goddamn middle. Now, at this point, I'm sending Sainz into the pit lane. Like, he's basically one pit stop behind by lap 19. He's really not having a great race for himself here. And now Leclerc is being held up by Joe, which is not very good, because Verstappen was obviously right behind. And at this point, you know, Sainz is going to go into the pit lane at the end of this lap. However, Joe will not. And there is a safety car, which is not very good, because I've already pitted them, which means I can't do anything about that. No one else pitted, so there is about nothing we can do here. Everyone, all the pit stops are already done, so I basically do nothing. I could have put Sainz in and put them onto some hard tires, last them to the end, but at this point I'm like, mate, you really gotta go, you gotta push. And yeah,
take a look at the replay.
There's another crash.
Here's George Russell.
Bottas is very pissed that his seat got taken by Russell. And that happens. At this point, Verstappen is at the front, but he's not for long, because Leclerc is just that much faster. And at this point, I have to put Sainz onto the soft tires at the end to push him forward and to try and get him to make up a couple of positions again. Mind you, I started P2, P9, now it's P1, P8, but the drivers are swapped. So that's a very interesting race right there. And Sainz, despite being on brand new soft tires, and I tell him to push, he does not get past any of the lower tier drivers. And there he goes, straight into the wall. And that's it. Now, as I said, the graphics are a bit choppy. And at this point, lap 48, Verstappen is right up behind of Leclerc. And I'm like, mate, you gotta go. But he does go. That's very good. And Sainz does not get past Gasly, Zhou, or Hamilton, and gets stuck in P7. But pretty weird there. I don't know what happened to him. He had a pretty bad time, but that's 2 out of 2. And then the next one, we'll do a lot more races. And let's see how far we can win.